round one of the Singapore Secondary School Debating Championships. My name is Mark and I'll be your chairman for this debate. Seated next to me, Richard, who will be our timekeeper. This debate is part of Division 3. What you are about to watch is a style of debate which encourages a high level of exchange and engagement between the two teams. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to make their speech. After 1 minute, the timekeeper will signal once like this. After this round, the debaters on the other team may offer points of information to the speaker. Debaters must stand up when they offer points of information. The speaker holding the floor may choose to accept or decline a point when it is offered. At the 4-minute round, the timekeeper will signal once like this. After this round, no more points of information may be offered for the rest of the speech. After the 5-minute mark, the timekeeper will correct a double signal like this. After this round, the speaker must conclude within a few seconds. After the 6 main speeches, each team will have the opportunity to make a 3-minute reply speech. This can be made by either the first or second speaker on it. No points of information are allowed during the reply speeches. The opposition will make a reply speech first. Before the debate begins, the audience are reminded to switch off all headphones, cables, and anything which might disturb the speakers. Should you need to exit or re-enter the room for any reason you disagree, please wait until the end of the speech to do so. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the audiators for the English debate. They are Ms. Stephanie Yap, and Ms. Ryan Yong. In proposition for this debate, we have Queenstown Secondary School. The first speaker starts, please. The second speaker is Gabriel. And the third speaker is James. And in opposition this evening, we have Montfort Secondary School. The first speaker is Sakthivel. The second speaker is you. And the third speaker is Benjamin. The motion for tonight's debate is this House believes that it should be a criminal offence for individuals who work in public services to go on strike. Without further ado, I invite the first speaker of the proposition to open the debate. Please welcome Sakthivel.
Every day, millions of people here in Singapore go about their daily lives dependent on the presence of public services, whether it is the police force, the civil service, or our educational system. If the side opposition were to have its way today, we would see a world where a strike by hundreds of public servants would easily cripple the way of life for millions of others. Good evening, one and all. Today, my side of the house will show you that there are economic, social, and ideological reasons of why public servants should not be allowed to go on strike. But before we go on to those reasons and our case policy, let's start with the definition. By criminal offence, we mean that we will make striking an illegal act. By individuals who work in public services, we refer to people who are involved in operating public goods, such as the police force, public transport, and civil service. By going on strike, we refer to the act of refusing to work in order to gain certain benefits from our employers. Our policy today is simple. We will make it an illegal act for people who work in public services to go on strike, and will propose a jail term or a hefty fine for whoever involved. In addition to this, our side also believes in having trade unions and frequent meetings between the public servants and the government, therefore using more peaceful approaches towards ensuring the welfare of public servants. We think that today's debate is a principled debate as to whether more benefit or harm will come out of our side's policy. We will show you clearly how our policy benefits the economy, the society, and sends out the right messages. Ultimately, as the first speaker, I will be touching on 2 points. First, on why the law should prevent innocent third-party harms. Second, the possible backlash that striking by public servants can cause. My second speaker, Lionel, will be talking about the socio-economic cost of allowing public servants to strike. And now on to my first point on why the law should prevent innocent third-party harms. The thesis of my argument is this: when individuals in public service go on strike, they do not affect their employers. There will be a much greater amount of harm done to the general public who are innocent and should not bear the damage. Why do we say so? We say so because, unlike in a private company where the employer is the only one that will suffer disproportionately, in public services go on strike. Let me give you an example. When teachers in England went on strike in 2013, thousands of schools had to be shut down, and this tremendously affected 27% of the student population in England. This places these students who have done nothing wrong and are otherwise innocent third parties at a disadvantage. We do not think that this is fair or efficient for innocent third parties to be harmed as a result of some people's problems. Accordingly, just like how the criminal law works to prevent people from causing harm to others, like how the law stops theft and robbery, the same should be done to public service going on strike. When individuals in public service go on strike, not only do they affect innocent third parties, but they also create resentment themselves and thus delegitimize the whole movement. This brings me nicely to my second point, onto the possible backlash that could be created. We understand that public servants go on strike because they want better pay or better job conditions. However, by going on strike, they shift the focus away from their conditions, but towards the inconveniences that they create. As such, the general public, having been harmed by the strike, will be more concerned about the harm they face, like the stoppage of train services and the stoppage of schools, rather than the concerns of the public servants caused in the first place. This causes resentment and makes it even harder for public servants to convince the public that they deserve better job benefits. Let's take the 2013 SMRT bus driver strike in Singapore, for example. When all bus drivers went on strike, the focus of major newspapers was on the inconveniences of the people, rather than the reasons for the strike. There was huge internet resentment of the bus drivers' action, and this caused further xenophobia in Singapore. It did not make the bus drivers' goal of getting better pay any easier. In comparison, our side of the house believes in consultations between the trade unions and the government. Peaceful consultations allow for points to be made across without angering the public or causing harm. We tell the side opposition to come out and show us why one should resort to more violent and harmful antics instead of friendly and peaceful negotiations. Because we stand for peaceful negotiations, a stable economy, and a system built on fairness, we are proud to propose. Thank you.
For 1 minute and 45 seconds. I thank the first proposition speaker for his speech. And now to open the case for the opposition, I call upon Hansel.
Thank you, the first speaker on the opposition side. Firstly, based on what you have mentioned, using having it as a criminal offence, firstly, it brings no peace with unfairness, because people will feel that it's unfair if it becomes a criminal offence when someone is just there to voice out. So this will in fact actually cause more unrest among people. So basically, I will be mentioning about two key points. Firstly, the nature of strike, and secondly, the right to freedom of expression. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, there are two types of strikes. Firstly, the violent and the non-violent. For those, this House believes that this House do accept that violent strikes should be regarded as a criminal offence, but still a non-violent strike shouldn't be considered as a strike, as a criminal offence. So for non-violent strikes, people just go to work and they basically just want to cause disruption to public services because of dissatisfaction. So to better understand the nature of strike, we need to know the causes of why people want to go on strike. Firstly, is on salary. So first of all, public servants already know that they won't earn as much as those who go in the private sector. But why do they still go on strike? Because that probably shows that their pay is really too low.
Yes, actually, when you said that civil servants who work actually on a certain this is not true. actually economic activity. Civil servants actually have their monthly salary, the performance bonus, the merit agreement, and also their annual bonuses in economic as well. Moreover, they also have additional staff benefits such as their leave, the medical, the dental. So technically, they have no reason to strike. They have all these advantages.
Okay, so what I have said, basically, in general, those working as public servants, they will earn lesser than those working in the private sector, because basically in the private sector there are more flexibilities in the earnings, the income and salary. Moving on to my next cause of strike. Many are regarding strikes as a last resort because they are pushed to the limit and they have no choice because they feel that their demands are not met. And firstly, Mr. Speaker, in general, public servants have high moral standard. But why do they still go on strike? They do know that there are consequences like the fact that family and self-future will be affected if they lose their job, but they still do go on strike, basically because they are at their own end of the weeds. And moving on to my second key point, right to freedom of expression. All of us do have the rights to express ourselves, to voice out, to have our own say, especially on what we are part of, what we are involved in. So, as public servants, some public servants just feel that there's a need for improvements for the benefit of they themselves and for the society. So, as public servants, they are there to serve the country, society, for everyone, and so they should still be heard by people. And on the last note, of all these reasons I mentioned, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to propose a motion that strikes should not be considered as a criminal offence. Thank you.
3 minutes and 30 guys. I thank the first opposition speaker for his speech. And now to continue the case for the proposition, I call on you.
Now, 2.5 million people ride the MRT trains in Singapore every day. More than 3 million people ride the London subway daily. In the Tokyo train system, the number of commuters a day rises to 11 million. If side opposition has its way today, ladies and gentlemen, any strike on any train system has the potential to cripple the entire economic system of any of our world's international finance centers. In my substantive speech later, I will be talking about the socio-economic costs of side opposition policy. Now, but before I even go on to my substantive, do allow me to develop my 2 points of contention for the House. Now, firstly, I have a bit of a problem when he says this. He says that making it a criminal offence is considered unfairness. Then I would like to ask the opposition this. Do you support violence and strikes then, since you say that it is unfair to treat strikes as a criminal offence? And secondly, the first opposition speaker has talked about better pay and incentives. Now, we think that striking will make it less likely that better pay and benefits, because in the long term, this is because, right, striking causes bad blood between the employer and the employee, as well as cause economic detriments as a result of unstable workforce. With economic detriments, companies and the government are less able to provide for good job benefits in the long run. Take, for example, the London Underground train system. Should the London Underground train system be hit consistently by strikes, it will receive less passengers as a result of its bad reputation. And this will mean that less money is available to provide for job benefits for its employees. Now, striking is thus counterproductive towards achieving better job benefits. Even if we were to accept the logic of striking can somehow aid you to get better job benefits for these public servants, we think that cordial discussions can do it too. We have seen how discussions among these trade unions in Singapore allow for a polite and business-friendly atmosphere, and we think that it is side opposition's burden to show that striking is far better than these friendly methods. Now, onto my case proper. I'll be touching on one main point, ladies and gentlemen, on the socio-economic harms that will come about if we were to allow public servants to go on strike. Now, the thesis of my argument is this. In large cities like Singapore, London, or be it Tokyo, public networks and services form an important part of the city's infrastructure. Should public servants go on strike, there can be serious consequences for the economy and the stability of the country. Now, why do we say so, ladies and gentlemen? We say so because public servants form the backbone of a city's growth. Investors pour money into a city because they are confident, ladies and gentlemen, confident that the city can remain safe and stable for their businesses to grow. Consumers buy products imported from a particular location because they trust that the factory run on time and produce goods of quality. Now, skilled workers also migrate to places where they think they can lead a safe and stable life. Moving on. When public servants go on strike, right, this stability is lost. This is because loss of services such as police presence, ambulance support, or even transport networks cause instability in the society and prevent businesses from operating on time. Now, in the long term, it will only lead to further social turmoil and economic harm. Now, we challenge side opposition to come out, ladies and gentlemen, to come out and prove to us that frequent strikes can be good for not only the economy, but for society as well. Now, to our side, it does not matter whether these strikes occur frequently or do not occur at all. By banning these strikes by public servants, it opens up a possibility that such a thing might happen one day. Now, take for an instance for the Thai economy from 2007 to today. In 2007, the Thai army organized a coup and took over the whole country. Although there have been no similar coups until now, there are still investors who are reluctant to invest, ladies and gentlemen, because they think that there is no safeguard against similar coups in the future. Now, similarly, even if the strikes are not frequent, the probability of it happening will already set the city back against its rivals. Now, it is precisely because our side of the house recognizes that long-term prosperity and stability is supported, that the people of London, of Singapore, or even be Tokyo, or any major city needs these public services to prosper. That is why this motion will and must stand. Thank you.
4 minutes and 45 seconds. Thank the second proposition speaker for his speech. And now to continue the case for the opposition, I call upon you.
So, Speaker, I think that every clause for opposition, we talk about public inconvenience and social economic harms. Yes, I've said that yes, if they go on strike, there will be disruptions. But they're going for a good cause. They don't go for some there's need some aircon or I need some better quality services. No, they're risking the whole livelihood, the whole livelihoods on stake. They're risking their everything. They go for great cause that involves a lot of people and they go in as a mass of numbers. Shows that there's something wrong with the government. They're going to, because there might be some injustice that's being served against them. They talked about the social economic harms and how MRTs will break down and how the economy will collapse. But Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about how strikes can help the public, how that we can show that there's been something wrong here, and we can correct it by giving us